What's going on, gamers? I am Merkaba18. Today we have a new video in which we are going to talk about the brand new god who was just released this past week. His name is Sun Wukong. As you can see here, I am in the practice arena. We're going to talk about him. These are some of the basics on how to use him and what he does. We're going to go in more in depth as it relates to his talents. This one's going to be really important to have separate videos for because his talents, more than I think any of the other gods up to this point, augment his abilities and particularly make his ultimate incredible. So let's get right into it. But before we go anywhere else, I want to make sure everybody's liking and subscribing to this video. Please remember to hit that sub button. It's absolutely free and it makes my day. We are very close to being able to monetize the YouTube channel here, and we will be continuing to create content here for DKO as long as they continue to support it. So I also play this game over on Twitch at Merkaba18. Please remember to go check out the live streams at Merkaba18 on Twitch. So let's talk about Sun Wukong. He is relatively fast. As you can see, he has a cute little new outfit here. He has his movement ability, his basic, and he's got two basic attacks, and then his ultimate. So let's talk about his movement. So first of all, if you hit L2 on the ground, he turns into a tiger. You can refire that, and if you hit your target with that, it will slow them. If you're in the air, which we will talk about here in just a second, it does something different. He turns into a bird. You can also refire that and initiate air attacks. We'll talk about those in depth here in just a second. Now, the other ability is his... he'll take his staff. As you can see, there's an aiming reticle, and there's the height and distance indicator. If you look at the very edge, you'll notice that if you hit your target there, it will do more damage and have a chance to crit. If you hit them in the blue area, it does less damage, but it does also knock them back. So I'll show you both of those, and we can talk about it in depth here in just a second. So we're going to release that. Knocks them back and does 10 damage in the blue area. And then once that timer resets, we'll do it again. So let's talk about his movement. In the air, he turns into a bird, and then you can refire that within a short amount of time and then initiate a air attack. So he is just like Zeus and Sasano in that he can refire his movement ability, and it initiates a secondary effect. So now let's talk about the knockback in the yellow area. Does an additional damage, and it has chance to do a crit. Now, there are talents that augment that guarantee a crit or increase the chance of a crit, and that they will do additional damage. So the indicator there with that, as you can see, I don't have that talent equipped, so it's going to do less damage. But in that case, it did crit, so it did 15 instead of 10 at the edge there. So keep that in mind. You can augment that ability with talents. We'll talk about that in a different video. So let me show you real quick what the movement looks like when you hit your target on the ground. As you can see, they now have a slow effect, and you can do your basic light attacks, your hold, and your air attacks. Now, the other ability he has is very similar to what you see from Thor. If you hit it, he swings once, twice, and then 3 times. The first two, this is very important information that you'll want to remember. The first 2 attacks are basic attacks, and then everything around you on that third attack will go flying. So I'll show you what that looks like again here in just a second. Once that refires, we're going to go ahead and hit once, twice, 3 times. Knocks everything back. As you can see, it also hit our buddy here. And if you're surrounded by enemies, it's going to hit anything within range. So it's very similar to Thor, very, very similar to Thor in the same vein. There are some slight differences. The main difference being that it doesn't swing and remove people on the first 2 or 3. Now, I will show you the differences on that Thor video once that comes out. All right, now let's also talk about his ult, which I personally think is one of the best in the game. I think this one changes a little bit of the dynamic and adds something very interesting to the game, which is what you kind of want from a video or from a new god. So let's talk about it. You hit R2, and he will create an alternative version of himself who then does basic attacks. Now, keep in mind, he'll just continue to swing, swing, swing until those guys are highly vulnerable. Now, a couple of notes with his ultimate. He will spawn with the same level of damage that or vulnerability that you have, and you can refire him so that you switch spots with him. There is a limited duration to that, so if at the basic level, he will switch spots with his ultimate, and then that ultimate will take the spot that you were at as the player, and you will go to where the ultimate spawn goes. So that one of the ways that I find that to be most useful is if you are surrounded by, let's say we've got, 2 or 3 enemies here and they're beating us up pretty good, or they're knocking us over the ledge and your ult is off in the left-hand corner over there. Just kind of, he's not taking much damage. He's not doing much of anything. You could switch spots, and now all of a sudden, the 3 people who are targeting you are going to be targeting your ult rather than you, and they're going to do some basic knockbacks, and they're going to have a hard time noticing that you switch spots. Now, here's where it gets interesting. We'll talk about this more in depth in the talent and guide video. But basically, there is a talent that allows you to switch spots with them multiple times on a cooldown. There is a hard cap to that based just solely on how long it lasts. But you can switch spots, and then that person's going to have a very, very hard time figuring out who you are and where you are. It is also really, really important to remember that that ability can be used if you don't have your movement and you're out over the platform and you're in danger of dying or being knocked. You can switch spots with your ult, and that will bring them to where they're going to fall, and they will get eliminated, and then you are safe from elimination. So keep that in mind. That is a really cool little wrinkle that adds so much dynamic and depth to this game. And the other thing to remember too is that the ult will only do basic attacks, but there is a talent in which you can put that talent on, and now your ult will also hit with these abilities and these abilities. And so one of the ways that you're going to figure out that you are playing against the ult is if they are lower level and they don't have that ability used. All they're going to do is basic attacks, and so you can target the one person that is, let's say, moving as a tiger. Your ult is not going to do that. So that person that is running around like a tiger or swinging like this at a lower level, you're going to be able to detect that that is them. If you see Sun Wukong do that and they're lower level, that means that they are the actual player and not the ult that they have summoned. So as you can see, there are a number of ways in which Sun Wukong brings a lot to the table. He is a very interesting addition to the game. One of the strongest additions to the game to this point, in my opinion. As you can see, his ult kind of changes the game. He just creates a lot of tension, a lot of stress for a lot of opposing teams. And then I can switch spots with him, and my buddy is going to go ham on those guys, which allows you to run away and sort of be free from potential knockback. So what do you think of Sun Wukong? What do you think he brings to the table? What do you think I missed here? Please let me know in the comments below who you think I should do a review on next. Please remember to like and subscribe to the video, and see you again next time.